Just enjoying my lemonade. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I'm gonna be breaking away from Wesley So for just this game. I got a nice one between Daniil Dubov of Russia and Anish Giri of the Netherlands. And as always, at the end of the video, I have the answers to the previous chess puzzle and the next chess puzzle for you. Let me see here. And as always, if you appreciate my content, please subscribe. Everybody's been subscribing and been watching my stuff. Pretty cool. And I really appreciate it very much. Feel free to leave me comments, suggestions, criticism, whatever you want. Because I definitely want my channel and my analysis to be what everybody would like. So just, help me make things better. If you have some constructive, suggestions or criticism for me. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and see if we can take a look at this game here. Let me make sure the volume is up. Bam. Okay, let's go. All right, so we got e4, got e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5, knight to f6. We have castles. So we have the so we start off with the Ruy Lopez or the Spanish game, and we have the Berlin. So as you guys know, Vladimir Kramnik played this against famously played it against Garry Kasparov in their 2000 match, and Vladimir Kramnik actually did win that world championship. So we have knight takes e4, which kind of looks like it might be a pawn sacrifice or just you lost a pawn, but it isn't, because that knight is very vulnerable in the middle of the board there when it's lined up with the king. So the best way to exploit that is going to be d4. The knight's going to go back to d6. And so we see d takes e5, and we have knight takes b5. And this might look kind of strange because you're thinking, wait a minute, didn't you just give the bishop away? Well, no, because after a4, the knight doesn't have anywhere to go. So it's going to be knight b to d4, and then you'll go ahead and just take the knight back with knight takes d4. And we're going to see d5 here, and we see c3. And so it's interesting to me because when I got to C3 is actually the novelty of the game. And I thought it was kind of interesting because when I was taking a look at the game, C3 was actually one of the top moves suggested by the computer. So I was just really curious 9 moves into the game, how we've never seen this. We've seen, and actually just kind of show you a game because Wesley So and Hikaru Nakamura did play this exact variation earlier today. After d5, so after d5 here, we saw we saw Wesley So go pawn takes d6 with en passant, and then the knight took d4, queen took d4, and then just running through the moves real quick. We just saw a dance back and forth with the queens, and they just agreed to a draw and got up. I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning for Hikaru Nakamura, so he might have just been tired. And just wanted to go ahead and get a draw right quick. Because, these guys are playing all over the world right now. So some people are late. Some people it's middle of the day. Some people it's real early. Make sure I get this hooked up here. We clear? Okay. I made my... Oh. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I made my little thing smaller. So anyway. So getting back to what we had in the game. Like I said, we did have C3. And so we see bishop to e7. We got f4, castles, bishop to e3. We got f6, trying to, chip away at that pawn center that white has established, like I always say. So we see knight takes c6, pawn takes c6. We got knight to d2. We got bishop to a6, tickling that rook on f1. And so we see rook to f3. And after pawn takes e5, we see pawn takes e5. As you guys can see, black has kind of helped white a little bit because, now they have this bishop that was already influencing this diagonal. Now it's influencing this diagonal. So it's kind of liberated the bishop a little bit. So you have to be careful when you're making certain moves, especially when you're making like pawn captures, because sometimes it can be helping your opponent, better their pieces. So the whole goal is to try to, suppress their pieces as much as possible. So we see queen to d7. We got knight to b3. So we have rook takes f3, queen takes f3, and we got rook to f8, pushing that queen away. So we see queen to g3. We see queen to f5, and so we see h3. And h3 is just the most logical move. Of course, you can't move the g-pawn because the queen's in the way. But, you know, moving h3 just gives this king some luft. And as you guys, some of you guys are familiar, some of you guys might not be. Luft is a German word. It means air. So as a lot of you guys have probably heard, Lufthansa is a German airline. And so it's just like, you know, air. So it's just giving, you know, it's just creating a little bit of space for your king to run, because you definitely don't want any back rank mate issues. So we see queen to c2, giving a little attack on that knight here. And so we see bishop to c5, and we see queen takes b3, and we see bishop takes e7. So, you know, we have to move the rook somewhere. So rook goes to f7, and we see bishop back to c5. And so we see bishop to c8. Now, if you guys want to go ahead and pause the video real quick and see how white takes advantage of this move, go ahead and take a couple seconds, or take as long as you want. Just pause it for as long as you want, and we'll be here waiting for you. Okay, cool. Well, something that you guys should have noticed is that this rook doesn't have the ability to back up, because this bishop is, you know, nicely holding that square. And this bishop is kind of put on the same rank as the king. And so if you found either queen to g5 or queen to h4, then good job. You were able to notice that, you know, you have a nice little, you know, check possibility here. Like I said, I mean, when the queen checks, I mean, of course the rook can't come back, because that's just checkmate. So the bishop kind of put itself in a really, really bad spot with that one. And so, you know, like I said, we did have queen to g3, queen to g5 played, just exploiting that. So like I said, either one was fine. Going back, instead of bishop to c8, probably would have been a little more solid to go queen to c4. And then we would have seen probably b4, and then queen to f4. And then we'd probably see queen to e1. You don't want to go trades, because then after the rook takes, you swing rook to e1, and then you have rook to e4. And this rook has the nice ability to kind of cut off the protection of this pawn here. But yeah, you needed to try to do, you know, put a little bit more counterplay into it. You know, bishop to c8 was just a little bit too passive. So like I said, we did have queen to g5. And so we have h5, you know, creating luft for the black king as well. But, you know, there was nothing that was going to be able to prevent bishop, queen to d8 with check. And so we see king to h7, queen takes c8. We have queen takes b2, rook to f1, you know, trying to trade the rooks off. So we have rook takes f1 with check, king takes f1, queen to c1. Now this is where you have to be kind of careful. Now white's doing considerably well compared to black. If we just kind of take a look at the situation, you know, we have equal pawns over here on the king side for both sides. We do have this pass pawn in the middle, so that's like the main feature of the position. And we have, you know, we have disconnected pawns for black and for white. But if you notice, you know, black has a really, really unhealthy pawn chain here. So it's, you know, like I said, because of this pass pawn having the ability to kind of push up the board and be protected, it is a very huge strength in the white position. So you just have to be careful as white here that you don't step into a perpetual check, because anytime you have a lot of open board and you have the queen close to the king, you have, you know, a lot of times you have the ability to repeat positions. So when you're winning, you definitely don't want to allow a draw. So we have king to f2, queen to d2, king to g1. We got queen to e1 with check, king to h2. Queen takes e5 with check, and we have king to h1. And so we have queen takes c3, queen to f5, throwing a little intermezzo in there real quick, moving the king over. And then once the king goes back to g8, we have bishop to g1. Now, the thing about the situation right now is the fact that you are up an entire piece. So, you know, usually when everything is even, you don't want to waste tempo. But the difference here is, like I said, you are up an entire piece. And so your whole goal is to try to work on getting some more pawns for white. So, you know, a retreat move like bishop to g1 just protects the king. You know, like I said, even if you want to kind of waste a move or two, it's going to be okay because it's not so precious when you're up considerable material. So we see a5. Of course, you know, the bishop was attacking that pawn on a7. And so we see queen takes h5. So we're trying to get our material back a little bit. And so we got queen to c4. We got queen to e8 with check. So king comes down to h7. We have queen to e5, counterattacking this c7 pawn here. And so we see c5, queen takes c7. We have d4, and we have queen takes a5. So queen to c1. We have queen to d8, and you guys will notice in a second that this move is perfect because it basically, you know, normally you want to try to get your queen centralized in the board, but this is like the perfect like offensive and defensive move because it's just protecting the queening square, which is, you know, when you have a passed pawn, that's the most important thing you need to be thinking about, is trying to make sure that you can put your pieces in a position to where you can protect the queening square. And so we have queen to d8, like I said, we have queen to c3. And so the pawn is able to push a5. We have d3, a6, d2, and then a7. And it is actually in this position that Anish Giri does resign the game because, like I said, you know, it's not a possibility for you to protect this square. And so, you know, white is going to queen in one move. There's not really anything that black can do about it. So it's super resignable. So going to the chess puzzle here. So this is the puzzle I gave you guys before. And like I said, it wasn't interference. I have to be honest with you. The move doesn't really super make a lot of sense to me, honestly. But the move was knight to b4. And so, you know, you had the rook attacking your bishop. So you're trying to make that not a possibility. So you're trying to disconnect the attack on this bishop because there's a lot of checkmating issues and stuff. So after pawn takes b4, you have queen to f3. And of course, you know, you have queen to g2 checkmate coming. So you have to defend against that. So you see knight to c3. You see f4, trying to open that file up. And so you're trying to keep it closed with g4. And so you see queen to h1 with check, king to f2, queen to g2 with check, king to e1, queen to g1 with check, king to e2. And you see f3 with check, king comes to d3, rook to d8 with check, king to c4. You see queen takes g4. And as you guys can see, there isn't really a lot that the white king can do. And, you know, the queen is dropping immediately next move anyway. So you're going to be down some considerable material. So the next one here is a double attack. But it also kind of has a little hint of interference in there as well, because you are trying to interfere with pieces, but do a double attack. I got this one wrong. I couldn't find a move. You know, I was thinking about like knight taking, or knight checking, knight taking here, you know, like bishop here, stuff like that, but nothing seemed to work for me. So I was kind of annoyed when I got the answer. I was like, yeah, okay. But anyway, that is that for you. And I appreciate you guys stopping by. Subscribe and like, and give me some comments and some feedback and criticism or suggestions, whatever. And I will see you guys in the next video. Appreciate it.